Across the sky, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no heart could fully know how glorious, how beautiful you are. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore, beautiful one my soul must sing. Powerful, so powerful, your glory fills the skies. Your mighty works displayed for all to see, all to see. The beauty of your majesty awakes my heart to sing. How marvelous, how wonderful you are. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore, beautiful one my soul must sing. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore, beautiful one my soul must sing. You opened my eyes to your wonders anew. You captured my heart with this love. 'Cause nothing on earth is as beautiful as you. You opened my eyes to your wonders anew. You captured my heart with this love. 'Cause nothing on earth is as beautiful as you. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore, beautiful one my soul must sing. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore, beautiful one my soul must sing. Faithful love flowing down from the thorn-covered crown makes me whole, saves my soul, washes whiter than snow. Faithful love calms each fear, reaches down, dries each tear, holds my hand when I can't stand on my own. Faithful love, from above, came to earth to show the Father's love. And I'll never be the same.
back, everyone, at long last. It's been a little while. It's been a couple of weeks. I want to say maybe close to 2 months since we've continued on our journey together through the Psalms. For various reasons, I had to take a bit of a break from it, but we are back. Psalm 59 this week. According to my records, if I'm wrong about that, someone feel free to correct me and say, wait a minute, we didn't do 58. But again, it's been a little while, so we're picking back up with 59. Fairly certain that is indeed the next one on our list. So Psalm 59, we're given some information in the superscription concerning the author, David, as most of them are attributed to, and the occasion when Saul sent and they watched the house to kill him. Not quite as much detail there explicitly as we find in some others. Sometimes it'll say something like, this is when David was running from Saul and he was in the cave, and it's pretty clear. But this one, there is actually a specific occasion that virtually every scholar I could find ties it to, and that's in 1 Samuel 19. This is an occasion where Saul was seeking to kill David, one of many. And Michal, Saul's daughter, David's wife, helps him to escape. You'll recall we covered this sometime back in our Sunday morning Bible class. She helps him escape, and then there's the idol placed in the bed, to deceive her father. The specific reason why virtually everyone, Christian scholars, the JPS Tanakh version, the Jewish, the Hebrew Bible that I reference sometimes, all of them tie the two together, Psalm 59, 1 Samuel 19, because the language is almost identical between the two describing this particular occasion. So, with that in mind, we'll kind of keep that in the back of our minds as well as we're looking through Psalm 59. Not a terribly lengthy psalm, and it happens to fall out very handily into two rather obvious sections that are almost the same length. The first 9 verses, we have David describing the danger that he's in. So he's in a perilous situation. Again, the house is being watched with the intent to kill him. And then 10 through 17, so from 10 through the end of the psalm, kind of changes gears a bit, and we have a prayer for God to deal with his foes. Typical of some of the other psalms we've seen, where he kind of spends some time describing the situation that he's in, and then he turns to implore God's help and to express his thoughts, his prayer about how he wants the situation to be resolved. So a couple of interesting things, and I'll note too, part of the reason, besides the obvious, as you're reading through it and you can see the two topics at hand, we'll note also that these two sections both end with this common phrase, kind of a common refrain, God is my defense. So you see that in verse 9, you see it repeated again at the end, Psalm 17, so capping off both of those two separate trains of thought. Okay, so starting out in verse 1, we read, Deliver me from mine enemies, O God, defend me from them that rise up against me. Again, given the apparent occasion for this would be Saul, and those in Saul's service. You may think of characters such as Doeg the Edomite, and what he famously did to the priests at Nob after Saul correctly heard that David had been there and that he had received aid, but had completely misconstrued what had actually happened and why Ahimelech the priest had helped him and under what circumstances. So Saul and his cronies, deliver me from the workers of iniquity and save me from bloody men. For lo, they lie in wait for my soul. The mighty are gathered against me. Again, David is one guy. Going against the king of Israel and those in his service. Granted, later on, as time passes, David is going to attract a number of mighty men of his own. But at this point in time, it's David against the world. for all intents and purposes. Not for my transgression, not for my sin, O Lord, right? This is the common thing that he keeps coming back to Saul with, right? I haven't done anything, right? You want to kill me. You have this paranoid delusion that somehow I'm out to get you. But I'm not. I haven't done anything. He's innocent. They run and prepare themselves, verse 4, without my fault. Await to help me, and behold. Thou therefore, O Lord God of hosts, and the God of Israel, and when you see that particular term, Lord God of hosts, a host is an army. So when you see this reference to the God as the God or the Lord of hosts, you're picturing God in a very in a military sense, in terms of power, in terms of force. The God of Israel, await to visit all the heathen. Be not merciful to any wicked transgressors. Strong language. Now, mind you, this is coming from the same David who, on multiple occasions in 1 Samuel, when he comes face to face with Saul, once Saul has started pursuing after him, he says repeatedly, "I will not lift my hand against the Lord's anointed." And so, as I've said many a time, I love David. I love the example that we have of him in the Old Testament, because you get to see all of David's life, warts and all. You see the high points and the low. And I love a psalm like this where you have these two things to compare. One, the historical record from 1 Samuel, and then David's thoughts here in Psalm 59. And it's evident that David oftentimes, as I think we all do, maybe felt one way, but then outwardly behaved another. Here we have this prayer, this innermost thought: visit all the heathen, be not merciful to wicked transgressors. Right? Again, evidently, if the occasion is the one that everyone attributes it to, this is Saul and those in his court who were with them. And yet, despite this strong desire on David's part for God to deal justly with Saul, who again is being anything but just to David, whenever things are in David's hands, you find the similar idea that we find in Romans 12 from Paul, right? Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Right? David understands that it is not his place to go and execute this vengeance against Saul, as much as he may want to. Whenever David finds himself in that position, he's face to face with Saul. He says, "I will not raise my hand against the Lord's anointed." Although when you read something like Psalm 59, you get the distinct impression that perhaps he would like to, but he won't. Continuing in verse 6, they return at evening. Oh, another thing real quick before we continue on, verse 5. Await to visit all the heathen, right? And he's going to use this term again in this psalm, heathen, right? When you think of heathen, you think of wickedness, you think of idolaters, you think of pagan religion, and you think, why in the world? Hey, this is a strong term, strong terms, plural, to use against Saul. Heathen, wicked, transgressors. Heathen in particular, and you think, well, Saul he's the king of Israel. I don't know. For one thing, again, going back to the occasion of this psalm, 1 Samuel 19, as I noted just a moment ago, Michal, Saul's daughter, helps David to escape, and in the process of doing this, takes an idol and uses it as a means of deception. Right? What is an idol doing there? Why is there an idol in the king's household, or at the very least in the home of the king's daughter? It isn't really commented upon. If things go along, but you have to ask the question: why does she have this? We noted earlier in 2 Samuel, as we made our way into 2 Samuel, Saul has a son named Ishbosheth. Bosheth meaning connoting the idea of shame and derision. In Chronicles, the name of the same son is given as Eshbaal. Right, Baal, of course, being a pagan god that was worshipped in Canaan. You recall the contest with Elijah and the prophets of Baal at Carmel. And you have the two. You've got Samuel on the one hand, Chronicles on the other, two different names, and it screams the question, which one is right? If you went back to that point in time, when you're being introduced, and they say, here, this is the king's son. His name is fill in the blank. What is his actual name? And you could make a case for it to go either way, but for the reasons we discussed in class, it makes far much more sense for a number of different reasons. And his name was Eshbaal, man of Baal. And then in Samuel, it's rendered as Ishbosheth, man of shame. Either way, to find the king of Israel's son with a name like Eshbaal, however it came to be, is somewhat startling. Is it any less startling, again, than to find the king's daughter with idols in her home? And all of this just to say, David here is talking about those who were pursuing him, Saul and company, presumably, as heathens and transgressors. I don't know, not to read too much into it, but is there, could there be more to Saul than meets the eye? Perhaps we'll leave it at that. Again, for whatever it's worth, David here has very strong words indeed for him. If, again, it is all, the occasion is, well, I take that back. The superscription specifically says Saul sent and watched the house to kill him. So this is the occasion with Michal more specifically. Either way, it's about Saul. So strange language for David to use about Saul. Unless, again, there's perhaps more to Saul than meets the eye. Anyway, continuing on. Let's see. We left off at verse 6. They return at evening. They make a noise like a dog and go round about the city. Right? You think of dogs prowling around, growling, barking. Just the second they can get their teeth on whatever it is they're chasing, they're going to. Behold, they belch out with their mouths. Swords are in their lips. For who say they doth hear? Right? No one. Right? Why are they willing to make all this clamor and to behave the way that they are? Because they can do whatever they want to do and they can get away with whatever they want to. Another common refrain we see from many Psalms. But thou, verse 8, O Lord, shalt laugh at them, thou shalt have all the heathen in derision. Again, heathen. It's a strong word for who we're talking about. God hears, right? God is aware of the situation. God sees and hears what they are doing, specifically to David. Because of his strength will I wait upon thee, for God is my defense. Okay, and again, that's kind of the end of this first section, roughly the first half of the psalm. The situation that he's in. Not a good one. So verse 10 through the end of the chapter, a prayer for God to deal with his foes. And watch here, just in case you haven't picked up on it just a bit yet, this we've noted before, a bit of the imprecatory psalm kind of a flavor. I don't know that anyone would officially call Psalm 59 an imprecatory psalm, but it's definitely in here. Again, that being the psalms in which the psalmist is calling for God, usually with rather graphic and violent imagery to destroy his foes. The God of my mercy shall prevent me. God shall let me see my desire upon mine enemies. But slay them not, lest my people forget. Scatter them by thy power and bring them down, O Lord, our shield. Which is interesting because he says, lest my people forget. Aren't David's people and Saul's people the same? Aren't they all Israelites? Again, I don't know. It makes me think just a little bit of, and we talked about this either this past Sunday or the one before. Paul in Romans chapter 9, right? They are not all Israel that are Israel. In other words, they're Israelites, but they're not Israelites. They're biology, their DNA, their parents were Israelites. They're born, so now they're born into the Israelite community. They're Israelites, but they're not God's people. And I don't know. Again, trying not to read too much into it, but I find it odd that David would say, slay them not, lest my people forget. It's like, aren't they the same people? But perhaps David sees a difference between those who were following after Saul versus those amongst Israel who aren't. I don't know. For the sin of their mouth and the words of their lips, let them even be taken in their pride, and for cursing and lying which they speak. Now he just in 11 said, "Slay them not, lest my people forget." But here in 13, this is that little bit of an imprecatory kind of a thought that I alluded to just a moment ago. Consume them in wrath, consume them that they may not be, and let them know that God ruleth in Jacob unto the ends of the earth. Again, aren't these the same people? Right? Let them know that God rules in Jacob, right? Well, God is the one who put Saul on the throne, isn't he? Evidently, Saul has forgotten that, and I think that isn't a terribly difficult case to make at all. Reading through 1 Samuel, Saul may be sitting on the throne and may be doing whatsoever he pleases, certainly in pursuing David to the ends of the earth to try to kill him, but God is ultimately still in charge. And David is praying for Saul's downfall so that might be remembered, which, of course, as we know, ultimately comes to pass. And at evening let them return, and let them make a noise like a dog, and go round about the city. Let them wander up and down for meat, and grudge if they be not satisfied. So we had this image just earlier about the dogs roaming around the city, growling, barking, just making this noise like let me in, let me get at them. So here he's praying, let him keep searching, let him keep wandering. Right? Don't let them catch the prey that they're after, which again is him. But I will sing of thy power. Yea, I will sing aloud of thy mercy in the morning, for thou hast been my defense and refuge in the day of my trouble. The day of his trouble, which is a lot of days for David, this being one of many. Unto thee, O my strength, will I sing, for God is my defense. There's that refrain again, kind of capping off this second section, just like we did earlier in verse 9. And the God of my mercy. Okay, that is Psalm 59 in a nutshell. Again, another of these occasions between Saul and David. This one I would say most notable for, again, some of the vitriolic language that David uses here. Perhaps, again, giving us maybe a different angle, a different side of David's dealings with King Saul. And like I said, sometimes perhaps how he really felt, even if he did outwardly always make the right decision, right? I will not raise my hand against the Lord's anointed. You read Psalm 59 and think, well, maybe he very desperately wanted to, but didn't always act on the impulse. Anyway, that's Psalm 59. Hopefully we'll continue on, Lord willing, next time with Psalm 60. Thank you.
Over all the earth you reign on high, every mountain stream, every sunset sky. But my one request, Lord, my only aim, is that you'd reign in me again. Lord, reign in me, reign in your power, over all my dreams. In my darkest hour you are the Lord of all I am. So won't you reign in me again? Over every thought, over every word, may my life reflect the beauty of my Lord. 'Cause you mean more to me than any earthly thing. So won't you reign in me again? Lord, reign in me, reign in your power, over all my dreams. In my darkest hour you are the Lord of all I am. So won't you reign in me again? Lord, reign in me, reign in your power, over all my dreams. In my darkest hour you are the Lord of